thank Senator Mayor and all of my colleagues for working on what is a very difficult subject matter, but when 25-1 becomes the outcome, that's pretty good. And I don't know what this is not Harry Reid, quite frankly. I like Senator Reid. He's signing the letter. This goes back to the White House. This is President Obama's team. This is not Harry Reid. This is not the Senate holding up this bill. It's the White House holding up this bill because they have an irrational view of what we need to be doing with detainees. They've lost the argument, and I tried to help to close Guantanamo Bay. It's not going to close. We're not going to move those prisoners inside the United States. The Congress has said no. The American people have said no. And the reason we've lost that argument is after working with the White House for about a year and a half to try to find a national security-centric detainee policy that would ensure the American people that we're not going to let these people roam around the world and treat them as common criminals, they could never pull the trigger on the hard stuff. We're here because the White House cannot tell the ACLU no. There are 48 people at Guantanamo Bay being held under the law of war who will never see a courtroom, military or civilian courtroom, and that's part military law. You don't have to let an enemy prisoner go. Most enemy prisoners are never prosecuted, and they're being held down at Guantanamo Bay under the law of war. An executive order issued by the Obama administration gives them an annual review. We've been trying to work with the Obama administration for a couple of years now to create a statutory scheme to deal with every class of detainee that we may run into in this war that will go well beyond my lifetime. And the reason that Mr. Brennan objects is because there's a decision made by the Congress to say that if a detainee is captured and interrogated by the high-value interrogation team, which I like, which is an interagency combination of the CIA, the FBI, military, and other law enforcement agencies to make sure we get the best intelligence possible, that we create a presumption for military custody. And the reason we're doing that is because the Obama administration has been hell-bent on criminalizing this war. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11, had charges preferred against him in military commissions during the Bush administration, and he was ready to go to trial, literally ready to plead guilty. The Obama administration withdraws those charges and was going to put him in New York City, giving Khalid Sheikh Mohammed the same constitutional rights as an American citizen, take that show on the road from Guantanamo Bay and have a trial in the heart of New York City that would cost $300 million alone for security. That blew up in their face. You just don't get it. Most Americans don't see these people as some guy that robbed a car. Stole a car or robbed a liquor store. Most Americans see the detainees that we're capturing on the battlefield throughout the whole world as a genuine threat to this country. And I applaud the Obama administration for taking the fight to the terrorists, for going after bin Laden, for using Predator drones on the battlefield all over Afghanistan and Pakistan. What I fault them with is that we have no way of capturing someone and acquiring good intelligence because you've locked the system down. And this detainee legislation that we have before the Senate will allow a way to go forward. What happens if you capture someone tomorrow? Where do we put them? What jail do we have as a nation to put a captured terrorist in? We don't have a jail because they won't use Guantanamo Bay. They captured a terrorist and put him on a ship for 60 days. The Navy is not in the detention business. We don't build ships to make them jails. We build ships to fight wars. So this aversion to using Guantanamo Bay is going to bite us as a nation. So this legislation allows us to move forward. If you capture someone, you can gather good intelligence. There's a presumption that they're going to be held as an enemy combatant, but there's a waiver provision there. What I don't want to do is start reading rights to everybody we capture in the United States as part of a terrorist organization's plot. We're not fighting a crime, we're fighting a war, and under the rules of war, you can hold an enemy combatant and interrogate them as long as necessary to find out what the enemy's up to. That's what this legislation does to my colleagues. You've written a very balanced approach. And this idea of never using Guantanamo Bay again is dangerous. The idea that the CIA cannot interrogate enemy prisoners as a policy is dangerous. By executive order, the President of the United States, President Obama, within a week of taking office, took off the table enhanced interrogation techniques under the Detainee Treatment Act that were classified, that were not waterboarding within our values, but there were techniques available to our intelligence community, Senator Chambliss overseas, that will allow them over time to acquire good intelligence. And one of the reasons we captured bin Laden, killed bin Laden, is because of the intelligence picture we acquired over 10 years. But this president, within a week, said, by executive order, the only interrogation tool available to the United States of America is the Army Field Manual, which is online. You can go read it for yourself.